Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today, for our number talk, we're looking at these two fractions and approximating the sum. Are these two closer to about 1/2, about 1, or about 2? Well, one way to do this is to think about our add-ins, 14 over 17 and 2 over 23. If we can kind of estimate these and get these closer to some benchmarks like 0, 1/2, or 1, well, then that would be an easy way to kind of mentally think about this and come up with an approximate sum. So let's look at 14 over 17, right? So it is a proper fraction. It has a smaller numerator than denominator, but we should notice that they're only 3 apart. And so if I were to draw this, let's say we've got a little bit of a rectangle here, and I wanted to cut it up into 17 pieces, right? If I start cutting out slices. And you see my pen is too big. I won't be able to get those 17 pieces. But if I were to, start cutting it up like this, let's say I get 17 pieces and I fill in 14 of them. I'm going to get an awful lot, most of them. So that's an approximation right there. So if I'm only 3 away, is that more or less than 1/2? Because if it's close to 1/2, that's fine. But if it's a lot more than 1/2, it's going to be closer to 1. Well, half of 17, it's an odd number, so that's going to get us 8.5. Is that 14 closer to the 8.5? Or is that 14 closer to the 17? And that's definitely, it's only 3 away from the 17. It's 6.5 away from the 8.5. So let's rethink this as about 1. So that's about 1 whole. Not perfect, but it's about 1 whole. And then let's look at our 2 over 23. Now imagine if I were to, that's going to be a little even smaller. Imagine if I were to cut this up into 23 pieces, right? So that's going to be tough. And only shade in 2. That's another approximation there. Is that definitely not 1 whole, but if I'm thinking about my 1/2 and 0, that's actually a lot closer to 0 than it is to 1/2. Half of that, right, would be what, 11.5 over 23 would be half, and that's only 2. So this is about 0. So even though that's not a full whole, that's closer to 1 whole, the 14 over 17, and 2 over 23 is a lot closer to 0 than it is 1/2. So 1 plus 0 is going to get us about 1.